So this is episode 15, season 4, Us.
Mm-hmm. So it starts off with Eugene and everybody walking along on their endless trek. And let's see, he's talking to Tara, and he's like...
Eugene, or...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because he's like asking her like what kind of video games she likes, and just kind of talking about stuff. And then it's Abraham.
Okay.
It's like then they're asleep, but like except for Abraham and
Tara.
Yes. And they're just kind of, I don't know, talking about stuff, and Tara's still all traumatized by being part of the governor's army.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And then they just keep walking.
Yeah, and then I don't feel like this opening is kind of killing time. I don't feel like that much happens in the opening, and then they're walking along again, and then let's see, they see like a terminus sign, and Maggie, for like the billionth time, has used walker blood. I mean, presumably,
right?
Like it kind of looks like it, Which I think at this point, like, they've found, like permanent markers or something, and she's just like, no, this is the way I do it now. I just like,
this is the only way.
Yeah, she's like, no, that just doesn't do it for me anymore. Walker Gore is the only way to write messages. It's like, it sure is convenient that there's like always a walker
close by,
close enough to where this isn't a problem.
Yeah. And, like, of course, the sign says, Glenn, go to Terminus, but instead of just saying Maggie after it, it says Maggie, Sasha, and Bob.
Yes. Yeah, and then Glenn gets overjoyed with this, and then he takes off running in that direction, and then the camera is watching him, and then he begins to smile. And then the credits run. So, then, let's see, Rick and... First we see the Sleaze gang with Daryl, except Daryl, like, they're waking up from their stupor and the leaves, and then so they're like, where's Daryl? And then one of them's like, oh, I bet he just went out to go poop in the woods. And then we cut away from them.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Like, I feel like this episode is very choppy.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like a bunch of different things, and it's all just kind of, yeah. No, it's kind of choppy.
And so then it, like, cuts to, we see Rick and Carl and Michonne walking on the train tracks, and I think this is the only time we see them in the whole episode.
I don't remember for sure. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe later, but yeah, no, this might be the only time.
And Carl and Michonne are playing a game where they're like trying to balance on the track, like while they're walking, and whoever balances like the longest gets to choose like these 2 candy bars that Michonne has. And I just really like how we've seen like this progression of like a friendship between the two of them. I think it's very cute that like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm like, later she like becomes his mom, but like she's his friend right now, and I really like that.
Yeah.
And so as like Michonne's like trying to mess up Carl, she actually messes up and she falls off the track. And so like when she's showing Carl the 2 options, she's obviously like trying to hide one, but he takes that one and shares it with her, and we do see that candy bar wrapper later.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like what is it? It's like the choice. It's like some kind of like not a Kit Kat bar, and then like something else, but they're like not doing product placement,
right?
Which I think is
anti-product placement.
Yeah, because they both like get diarrhea from the candy bar or something. So let's see, yeah, and then they
goes back to the sleaze balls.
So then Daryl is hunting a rabbit, and he's carefully aiming at it for a long time, being very careful about it. And then before he does take the shot, but then like at the same instant, I think the sleazeball who was saying Daryl was pooping, he's like followed him out there, and then he shoots the rabbit with his bow. Okay, I have a problem with this. Apparently, okay, because he takes the shot, they both both of their arrows go into the rabbit. And this other guy was standing like 5 feet behind Daryl for like, seemingly a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl's supposed to be so aware of his
Everything
surroundings, and
him.
he's supposed to be such a good survivalist.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess this guy is very stealthy.
Yeah.
Like, I guess he's better at stealth than Daryl is at detecting people. Like, yeah, apparently this guy is a ninja or something, because he was just, he just like walked up, like he could have killed Daryl very easily,
mm-hmm.
and Daryl just, never would have noticed. Yeah, anyway, so then they both shoot the rabbit. And this guy, the sleazeball, is like, I claimed it. I guess that's not his voice, but he's like, I claimed it. And so then Daryl doesn't know what he's talking about, which is kind of ridiculous because, okay, so then they start fighting over the rabbit, and Daryl's like, I was stalking this thing for 5 hours or something. And then El Sleazo, real name Joe, who's their leader, comes up. Apparently he was also right around there. Apparently he was just watching this from a
Daryl, you are really not on the
ball. Maybe this was actually happening 5 feet away from their camp. And so when they were like, "Where's Daryl?" It's like we see Daryl right in the background or something, but none of them notice him. He's right there, we can see him very clearly.
That's funny.
Thank you. Anyway, so then Joe comes up, and he's like, well, what's going on? And then the other guy, whose name I don't remember, with the bow, is like, I claim this rabbit, see? And then Joe's like, okay, well, that's clear. You get the rabbit. And apparently he didn't explain this whole claiming thing or any of their rules to Daryl, which is kind of, I think that doesn't make a lot of sense, because they call themselves the Claimers, and their whole thing is based around that's their only real, or I don't know, they have two social conventions that govern them, and then everything else is whatever. They're just, it's you have to claim things. Whoever claims something first gets it, and then don't lie.
Right.
And it's and that's pretty much it. But apparently he didn't explain this to Daryl, and I feel like it's been at least 24 hours since he joined them.
I think you're right.
Thank you. And yeah, and he and so then he explains it so the audience knows what's going on. And Joe cuts the rabbit in half, and gives one half to each of them, because he's like, well, I guess Daryl didn't know about these rules because I stupidly didn't tell him, for no real reason. Even though this is our most important rule. Oh, and before Joe showed up, the other bowman was taunting Daryl about missing Beth, and he's basically I think Daryl should have realized these guys were sleazeballs long before he did, because this guy's ooh, is she a little one? They don't last long out here, basically saying he rapes children. I mean, pretty heavily insinuating that's
right.
That's what he's talking about. Daryl apparently doesn't think that's unusual at all. He's like, hey, he doesn't think, hey, maybe this isn't a great group of people I joined up with, and anyway, yeah. So then I believe that's the end of that scene, is that each of them gets half the rabbit.
So then it flashes back to the Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, Tara, Glenn group. And they're still going along the train tracks, going towards Terminus. And they find this tower. And Abraham's like, we need to stop here. We need to rest. And Glenn's like, nope, we got to keep going. And
like, I'm powered by sheer horniness. I don't need to stop. I don't need to sleep.
Right. And then like this walker like falls out of the tower, and Eugene is just like so helpless. Like he sees the walker and he's like, oh crap, and then just like continues to stand there like it was going to fall right where he was. And so Abraham like pushes him out of the way, but when he does that, it knocks Tara over, and Tara hurts her knee. And Glenn's like,
I think it's her ankle, but that's okay. I no, that's okay. I don't know which one it is, but.
And Tara's like, no, we can still keep going. And so Glenn's like, if she can keep going, all of us can. And Rosita like rips him a new one. She's like, she feels guilty, like she will do anything for you. And that's pretty much the end of that scene.
Well, no, because I mean, so then so then let's see. Glenn is like, okay, here's the deal. I'll give, because he's like, okay, all you care about is getting Eugene safely to Washington. So I'll give Eugene my body armor, my riot gear, and in exchange, you guys keep going until nightfall.
You're right.
And then I think Rosita's like, oh no, like you can't do that, and he's like, she is like saying to Glenn, she'd do anything for you, because she feels bad. And then Abraham's like, you ain't her mama. If she said she can walk, she can walk. And he's like, you got a deal, buckaroo. And then, then they...
But I find it hard to believe that riot gear that fits Glenn also fits Abraham.
Well, it probably has adjustable... Oh, you mean Eugene?
Yes,
no, that's... it would be adjustable. I mean, I guess Eugene is kind of fat. Like, I don't know, I don't know for sure that it would fit him, but... Because you can kind of tell, like, it doesn't quite fit him, like, perfectly.
Yeah.
So, like, I think, like, the actual plates might be too small.
Okay.
But, like, it's still better protection than not, not having it. Yeah, and I would think the straps would be pretty adjustable to fit, like, different size guys, but...
And then it flips back to the sleazeball gang.
Yeah. And El Sleazo is walking with Daryl, and he's like explaining their codes of conduct and so forth, and he's like, talking about claiming and not lying. And then he's asked here, he says to Daryl, it's like, you a cat person? I love cats myself. Oh boy, do I love them. And he's like, nothing sadder than a outdoor cat thinks he's an indoor cat, referring to Daryl as being the outdoor cat.
Wow.
Who thinks he's an indoor cat.
That's deep.
I know, it's super deep, isn't it? It really makes you think. Like, it's like, whoa, are we all cats? Who's really the cat here?
Is this the musical Cats?
Yeah, and then they like make camp in this building, and then it goes back to the big group.
Yeah.
Like the Glenn group, the Abraham group. Yeah, and they're like walking along, and then they get to this big railroad tunnel, and then.
And there's like writing from Maggie.
You're right, there is.
On the outside.
There's another one.
Right. And it's still wet, and so Glenn's like, we have to go through the tunnel. Maggie went through the tunnel. If Maggie can go through, we can go through.
Mm-hmm.
And Abraham is like, no, it's not safe. We can't see through there. We have to go around the tunnel.
And they can like hear walkers in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, because he's like Abraham says like we can't, because like as the audience we can't really see what like the surrounding area looks like because the camera is in the tunnel pointing out like at the characters.
Yeah.
But Abraham's like, we can't go over it and it would, like it would take too long to get around or something like that. I don't think I buy that. I have a really hard time believing that they couldn't just go up this hill.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Like, I'm not saying that would be super easy, but like you're saying this is like a mountain that just springs out of nowhere and it's like impassable. I mean,
no,
like it doesn't look, like I'm sure there's like a hill there, but
yeah, you're right.
I think they could get up over
like, we
it.
have to go back and find another way around.
Yeah.
And Glenn's like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Like, Maggie went through, I'm going through. And so him and Tara start going through the tunnel.
Yeah, Abraham's like, okay, like,
bye.
I get it. Like, this is where we, and he like gives them food. And yeah, but they split up, and Tara and...
So Tara and Glenn are going through the tunnel, and they find a bunch of crushed walkers.
Yeah, like there was like a cave in this, and I think they were saying that must have happened after.
Yeah,
Maggie and everybody went through there.
Because like Glenn looks at all the walkers and he's like, none of them are Maggie. Like, she didn't die. Like, this must have happened after she went through. Like, there's still hope. Let's keep going.
Yeah. And then they have to crawl up on top of the debris, and then they see that there's more walkers on the other side, so they know they have to cross. They have to get through them. They have to get past them, and then let's see. And then we see the Sleaze gang, and they're making their camp in this building. And they're just like, I claim this spot on the ground. I claim this spot on the ground. I claim this spot on the ground. And yeah, and then that's like this episode really just goes back and forth a lot.
It's super choppy.
Where it's like nothing really. It's like in that scene, like nothing really happens. It's just like them being like, okay, then good night, and they're all like, good night, Yeah.
And then it goes to Abraham and Rosita and Eugene. And they go back and they find a car. And Eugene is like, I can navigate, and Rosita's going to drive. And so he tells Abraham to just fall asleep in the back. And I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, it's like going back and back and forth, like these little 5-minute scenes.
Right.
Where where it's like you have to wait until the next
see what's happening.
It's it's not it's I don't really like the way this one is put together.
And so Tara and Glenn are going over this pile of all the rocks that caved in, and Tara slips and gets her foot stuck.
Oh man, she's just having a time with her feet and legs.
Yeah, Tara's struggling, and so Glenn is trying to get her out, but not doing a very good job of it. And walkers are coming, and she ends up saying go, you just have to go without me. And he's like, I'm not leaving you. And she's like, go, and she's shouting at him. And then it goes back to Eugene and all of them, and he just all of a sudden he's like, stop. And they're on the train tracks, and Rosita's like, what the fuck are we doing? And he's like, if I calculated right, and the wind was going west, and the moon was full, and it's a Thursday.
If it's indeed the year of our Lord 2012, in the month of August, and
the Chinese calendar
the year of the Capricorn.
Right, it says it's a golden cock year.
It's a golden cock year.
Then our friend should be coming out of that tunnel right now, unless something terrible went wrong, and they're not coming out. And Rosita's like, are you kidding me? We're trying to get you to Washington. We don't have time for this bullshit. And then they wake Abraham up, and Abraham's yelling at Rosita, and he's like, you stopped. You should not have stopped. You should have kept going. And yeah, that's kind of the end of that scene.
Yeah, Eugene's just justifying it by saying, well, we're stronger together. So I'm just trying to get us all back together.
Right.
Yeah. And then we see the Sleazeball gang. And the one who took the rabbit from Daryl earlier is now saying he's like
accusing Daryl.
Yeah, he's saying Daryl took the half of the rabbit.
Head,
the half of the rabbit. Which like I think earlier they were acting like because Daryl got the back half of the rabbit, and then this other guy got the front half. And you would want the back half. I have a problem with it because they act like you want the front part.
Because wouldn't the front part have like a lot more bones and stuff like that?
Well, the front part just wouldn't have as much meat. I mean, like, think about like where most of the muscles in a rabbit is. It's going to be in the hindquarters.
Right.
Like their hind legs are going to be like the meatiest part.
You're right.
I mean, there would be meat on the front half, but it's mostly like
our rabbit was like all butt.
That's true. Yeah, and however, like rabbits generally speaking kind of are all butt. Yeah, like the front half you would not nearly get as much meat off of it, and I don't think they considered the reality of the situation when writing these scenes, because they act like they're like fighting over the front half, and the front half is not like you want the back half. But anyway,
he's accusing Daryl of taking it, and the main sleazeball.
Yeah. Joe,
that's right. El Sleazo. He's like pretending like he is like
Oh right, he does, like he's
like counseling them. But it's all like facade. Like he knew that the other guy stole it, and he's like, you didn't try to plant it on Daryl like a big pussy.
Cause he's like some pussy lying piece of shit cop, like.
And the other guy's like, no, of course I didn't, but like he saw him do it, and so he tells everyone else to beat him up.
Yeah. He's like, teach him all the way, boys, teach him all the way. So then they kick him to death. Yeah, and so then let's see. And then I think he's like, Daryl, you're all right by me. I love you, man.
And Daryl is like, like, how'd you know? Kind of thing. Like Daryl's questioning it, and he's like, I saw him do it, and he's like, I had to make an example of him.
Yeah, you're right.
And then so I think that kind of finishes up that storyline.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the last we see of them in this episode. Yeah, and then we're like back in the tunnel with Tara and Glenn, and they're going along, and then
Tara's foot is stuck.
Okay, yeah, because she's already injured, right? And then
and
then she like gets her ankle like stuck in some rocks or something like that,
and they can like hear walkers coming.
Yeah,
and Tara's like, go without me, like just basically sacrificing herself.
Yeah.
And Glenn's refusing, and he's like wasting all of his bullets. So it's looking pretty bleak for Glenn and Tara.
Looks like they're about to be eaten.
And then like this bright light comes down, and who shouts like, get down?
I'm not sure. Is it Abraham? I'm not sure who it is.
I think it's Abraham.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Like, boo, 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 and like...
And I mean, I know they're trying to save Glenn and Tara, but they're also kind of wasting a lot of bullets.
And it's also deafening
it's
all
also,
of them.
That's true. I was going to say it's also like not the safest thing.
Right. Like what if they're
just spraying bullets, like Glenn and Tara are like on the other side of these walkers, like you know, this could potentially be it's dramatic looking, but I think it's also maybe not the safest, wisest thing they could do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so like all the walkers are dead, and we see like someone like, or we think all the walkers are dead.
Yeah.
And then there's like something kind of like staggering towards them, and like maybe it's another walker, but it ends up being Maggie. And so then like Maggie and Glenn embrace, and it's like this very sweet reunion. And yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about that. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Their relationship is okay. I don't know if I necessarily feel like they have amazing chemistry. I just don't know if I like really buy that they're all that in love with each other,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
And I can't remember if this is like now or later, but like Glenn has that picture of Maggie,
Mm-hmm.
and I think
it's now.
Okay,
Because
and I
he
think, like-
took this he took this creep shot of her while
Yes,
while
when they
she
were
was
in the
sleeping,
tower,
and then
yeah.
and then he burns it. Or wait, no,
She burns it.
She burns it now because
she's
she's
like,
like,
you're
you'll
never
never.
gonna have to, yeah.
You're never gonna like need to look at it again because like I'm always gonna be with you.
Yeah.
Essentially. And so Abraham's like, this is all heartwarming and all, but we gotta go to Washington. So all eight of us are gonna get in this little minivan and start
He's like,
head
you
out
sorry
tomorrow.
sons of bitches have no further excuses. Like, why don't we just go on the damn road?
And Eugene's like, nope.
No, I think we should go to Terminus.
Yeah, he said, like, we're 55% of the way from Houston to Washington, and we had an armed vehicle, and we lost 8 men.
Yeah.
I don't see why we will be able to make the trek with this minivan, essentially.
Yeah.
And,
What is he? He calls it like a corn picker or something, some
yeah,
weird. No,
he
but
did call something
calls
weird.
it, gives us some weird name.
Yeah, and Rosita, yeah,
Yeah,
is like, it wouldn't hurt to like spend one day and see what's there, and like, haha, right?
Might it not?
So we were mistaken. We do see
Yes, we see Daryl and his sleazy new friends.
one more time.
Yeah. So then let's see. Yeah, Daryl wakes up and he's just sleeping on the floor of this building, whatever the hell this is that they're in.
It's like a garage or something.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
that.
I think it
Yeah.
is a garage. Yeah, and then they're all getting up and it's like, were they gonna wake him up? Or
I don't
because
know.
they look like they're ready to leave.
Yeah,
Like
you're
when he
right.
wakes up, everybody else is practically out the door. Like were
That's
they just gonna
true.
leave him there? Were they gonna wake him up?
He wasn't claimed, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not. And then he goes outside, or he sees blood stains on the ground, on the floor.
Yes.
And then when they're going out the door, when they're going outside, then he sees the corpse of that guy who,
The whole
the whole
stuff with
rabbit
the
thing,
rabbit
who
thing, yeah.
tried to get him killed by planting the rabbit on him. He's been beaten to death and stabbed through the eye with an arrow.
Yeah.
And then Daryl tries to put this random blanket
He
on
thinks
him,
about
you know.
it, but then he's like,
Oh, or does he not actually?
he doesn't
put it
actually
Okay.
he just picks it up and then he
And
puts
he's
the blanket back
okay,
down.
whatever,
He's
yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, him and the main guy are talking and they're drinking this booze that I guess they make, and
It's like moonshine. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, and Daryl says something like, "I haven't gotten lit before dawn since before everything fell apart,"
Mm-hmm.
and this guy's like, "I don't see it as falling apart. I see it as falling together."
My clothes are finally clean somehow.
yeah,
his inner shirt. It
he
looks
has-
very clean.
He has a vest
yeah,
on, a
uh-huh.
jean vest on the outside, which is pretty dirty, but then on the inside, his shirt is very clean.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so,
somebody really should have dirtied that up a little bit,
right?
because I didn't
unbelievable.
notice that, but after you said that, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
It is kind of noticeable that it looks a bit clean.
And so then they see a sign about Terminus, and Daryl finally asks, is that where we're going? And he tells him, essentially he's like, no, we're hunting Rick, but he doesn't know his name is Rick, and so Daryl doesn't know that it's Rick. But he's like, we think he's going there, so we're going to go try to find him there.
Daryl eats a
Strawberry.
strawberry by the side of the tracks.
Yeah. Very, very powerful ending to that section.
Yeah, it really encapsulates
Yeah.
all his character progress in this episode, because he's had claimed
Yes.
and takes the strawberry. So he's now fully on board with their whole alternative lifestyle that
Yep.
they've got going on, where they claim everything.
And then
Oh, and they walk over one of those candy bar
candy wrappers that
magic cat.
Yeah, the one
chocolate.
that Michonne and
That big cat. I think maybe it was something like that. But yeah, that Michonne and Carl like kind of
shared,
want.
yeah.
They both like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's supposed to signify that, like, this is where Michonne and Carl ate the candy and they dropped it, and so, like, these guys are on their trail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then finally it just ends with, like, the Glenn, Abraham, that big group
Yeah.
getting to Terminus. And
it's really not. It's really an unusual choice. They play this weird, like, folksy song at the end, which is
does
something they
tend to
never
be-
do.
That tends to be a Walking Dead,
Yeah.
like, end
Staple.
sequence staple. Good word.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then so, like, they go into Terminus, and of course they have their guns up, like, naturally.
And then they see a sign that says they see like these gardens and stuff. Oh, so okay, so there's this building, like I guess it's like the train depot or whatever, like whatever. It's like for the trains. It's like a building, and like Terminus is written in like these like spaces. I don't know what those are, but like there's like these like lighter colored spaces
Like big
across
blocks.
across the side of this building, and it's like Terminus. Like each spot is a letter, Terminus, and it's like, did they choose the name based on the number of available spots? Was that just a happy coincidence? Like, what I'm curious what.
Yeah.
Because
And
that
I
just seems like quite a coincidence, but
I would like some clarity on, like, how they painted those up there. Like, where did they find ladders long enough? Where did they find enough paint?
yeah.
And, like, also, it doesn't look hand painted. Like,
I guess they made the ladders out of human bones and made the paint out of like human blood or something. I don't know.
like the letters are, like, very uniform, though. They look
you're
like
right,
machine painted.
Like stencils or
Yes.
something. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, it is pretty evenly painted.
And then they see a grill / smoke pit, I guess.
Well, it's
and-
like so they walk in and like there's nobody out there and like the fences are like the gates are open and stuff, and they're like so they walk in and there's these like little gardens and things around and like flowers and stuff, and they like go past and they walk in with their guns raised, and then they see the sign that says like lower your weapons, you will be met, you have arrived at Terminus. I think that's what it says.
Okay.
And then they're just like, oh, okay. And then
Yeah,
they
and
all
they just, like,
and
lower
it's just
them,
like,
like-
oh, okay. And it's like, that doesn't say you are safe. Like, that says,
this,
like,
this
you will
couldn't
be...
possibly be a trap. Like, lower your weapons, like, because we're gonna have
Yeah.
ours ready.
Yeah, I think they're just a little, like...
Too trusting.
Yeah, I think they I mean, they
Submissive?
walk into the trap. Yeah, it's just like... I mean...
Like, this sign told
And-
me to, so I'm going to.
Because, like, when they go in there, I mean, the only options, I think, are... For, like, okay, because there's no guards, like, the gates are open, like, seemingly this place, like, has no...
Security.
Like, they're not, they're not looking out for attack at all. Like, seemingly, they're not worried about being attacked.
Right.
And it's like, so either it's a trap, or they're just, like, hopelessly naive and,
Right.
and defenseless. And it's like, well, which of those, like, sounds more likely? Like, probably that it's a trap. I mean,
Yeah.
probably that it's a trap.
good point.
Thank you. I think they're taken in a little too easily. But anyway, yeah. So then they walk in and then they like see this stuff like a wash basin, and some flowers, and it's like, oh, this looks nice. That means it's a trap. like it's because I think the termites are like trying to make it look like all
Yes.
like nice and
And, like,
they're-
welcoming and
yeah, they're trying to
inviting,
make
like-
it seem non-threatening, and it's
Yeah.
like, wait, because it is a trap. Yeah, and then this woman is like at a grill as they come in, and she's like cooking these big slabs of meat, and then she turns around and she's like, hi.
And no one questions why the meat
You
is
look
human
tasty.
shaped.
I mean, hello. Well, I don't know if it's. I mean, it is like big. You're right. Like
Human-shaped meat.
it is kind of big. Like it does look like you cut it off like a human back or something. I mean, you're right. But yeah,
And then she's like, What did
She's
she
like,
say?
"Oh, you look like you've been on the road for a long time.
Yeah, come on
Like,
in.
get yourself settled. We'll make you a plate.
Haha.
Get it?
Haha.
Because they're gonna eat them.
Haha.
Get it?
Haha.
Because they're gonna make them into a plate of food.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Haha.
and that's pretty much the end.
That's the end.